Welcome to the lecture all about cause and effect vocabulary, and here are your 7 words. Attribute, chain reaction, derive, initiate, interdependent, interrelate, and repercussion. So your first word is attribute. Attribute. It's a verb. So with this verb you stress the second syllable. It also works as a noun where you stress the first attribute. But here, as a verb, attribute. If you attribute something to an event, you think that the thing was caused by that event. So he attributed his stomachache to something he ate at lunch. So he thinks his lunch caused his stomachache. Here's another example. This man has a really bad hangover. His head hurts. He feels sick. Why? What caused his hangover? Well, last night he went to a big party and drank lots of beer. Too much beer. He thinks the beer at the party caused his hangover, so he attributes his hangover to the beer and the party. Here are some example sentences. Women tend to attribute their success to luck, according to some studies. The increased death rate was attributed to a severe outbreak of influenza. She attributed his bad temper to ill health. Some collocations. You attribute success to something. What caused your success? Well, you attribute your success to it. You attribute an increase in something to something. What's the cause of the increase? You can use also these 2 adverbs, partly attribute and directly attribute. So he directly attributed his hangover to drinking too much beer last night. It's a verb, so you can have all these endings: attributing, attributed. And some synonyms for attribute. Blame. He blamed the beer on his hangover. Associate. Connect. He connected his hangover to the party. Trace. Credit. The next word is actually a phrase here. Chain reaction. Chain reaction. A chain reaction is a series of events, and each event leads to the next event. Here are some dominoes, a line of dominoes. If I push the first domino down, it will knock down the next domino, which will knock down the next domino, and the next, and the next, and the next. A chain reaction will happen. If I push the first domino, there will be a chain reaction where the other dominoes are knocked over. A gas canister exploded and started a chain reaction of explosions. The factory closure led to a chain reaction of job losses in the local economy. Splitting an atom starts a chain reaction in which more and more atoms are split, and you have a nuclear bomb going off. So you have a chain reaction of events. We can say a chain reaction occurs. We can set off a chain reaction and trigger a chain reaction. So your next word is derive. Derive. Note the pronunciation. Not drive, but derive. Derive. If something is derived from something else, it comes from that something else. Coffee, in the cup, coffee comes from coffee beans. So coffee, the drink, coffee is derived from coffee beans. aspirin, the drug, is derived from something called salicylic acid. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, and the word Easter is derived from Eostre, which is the pagan goddess of spring, apparently. And he derives a lot of fun from playing football. You might derive a lot of fun from watching football. So you derive things from, derive authority. Derive enjoyment. You derive enjoyment and pleasure from watching football. So derives, deriving, derived, and you can have a noun from derive. Derivative. Derivative. A derivative is something that has come from something else. So coffee is a derivative of coffee beans. And some synonyms for derive. A very common word is gets, extract. So you extract enjoyment, you acquire enjoyment from watching football, obtain, received, or receive. You receive enjoyment, you receive pleasure, you get pleasure. Infer has a slightly different meaning there. Next word is initiate. Initiate. So if you initiate something, you start it or you cause it to happen. So the man with the starter gun, he initiated the race. He started the race. He initiated it. They wanted to initiate a debate on economics. Peace talks were initiated by the president in May. Such ideas may initiate educational reform. They may start educational reform. So you initiate a process or an action or proceedings. And initiate often goes with the preposition by. The peace talks were initiated by the president. So with a verb, of course, you can have these endings initiating, initiated. You can also have the noun initiation, and an initiation is when you start doing something for the first time. So some synonyms for initiate: start, of course, set up, commence, launch, trigger, and begin. And your next word is interdependent. Interdependent. So if things are interdependent, they need each other, or they are dependent on each other. There is a connection, very close connection between the two things. Now this is the yin-yang symbol, a Chinese symbol. So a Chinese idea that says that different forces are interdependent. For example, light and shadow are interdependent. I mean, they look different, but light is better with shadow, and shadow needs light. They are interconnected. Night and day are interconnected and interdependent. And the prefix inter means between. So interdependent means that they are dependent. There is a dependency between things. And some example sentences. In our globalized world, countries are increasingly interdependent. So what one country does affects lots of other countries. Happiness is derived from a variety of interdependent factors. They all link together. Computers on the internet are not just interconnected, they are also interdependent. So if one computer gets a virus, so will lots of other computers. So we live in an interdependent world. We have an interdependent economy, interdependent relationships, and you can use adverbs like increasingly. This is a very common adverb to use with interdependent, increasingly interdependent. And some synonyms for interdependent: interconnected. Mutually dependent is another one that's not so commonly used, but it might be in IELTS reading tests, of course, and listening tests. Reciprocal. Complementary. And your next word is interrelate. Interrelate. So if things are interrelated, they have an effect on each other. It's very similar to interdependent, in fact. So weather patterns around the world are interrelated. And again, inter tells you that there is a relationship between things here. Between is what inter means. So the body and mind are interrelated. If your body is sick, then your mind will suffer as well. Social skills are, in part, about how we interrelate with other people. All the cells of your body are closely interrelated. So things are interrelated with, and interrelate closely is a very common collocation. Of course, it's a verb, so interrelate, interrelating, interrelated. But you can also have a noun, interrelationship. Interrelationship. And some synonyms for interrelate: affect, connect, link. And your final word is repercussion. Repercussion. If an action or an event has repercussions, it causes unpleasant things to happen as a result, usually for a long time afterwards. Repercussion begins with re, of course, again and again. It was an event which was to have painful repercussions. Members of Congress were warned of the repercussions if they voted for war. The seemingly minor virus was to have serious repercussions for her health for years. So serious effects for a long time. Serious repercussions. Potential repercussions. And things have repercussions. And we often fear repercussions as well. And some synonyms: backlash, backlash, negative effect, fallout. That suggests bad things as well, fallout. Reverberations is more of a neutral word. And side effect, again, side effect usually has a negative sense, negative meanings. So there are your 7 cause and effect words and phrases. Attribute, it's a verb in this lecture. Attribute, chain reaction, derive, initiate, interdependent, interrelate, and repercussion.